Am I the a-hole for wanting to leave my wife after she became the worst person post-birth and cheated on me? I 28 am have been married to my wife 27 and for 2 years together for 14 months ago we had our first baby. She hasn't gone back to work and I had been the sole breadwinner, her choice. And since she gave birth my wife has become a nightmare to deal with. She became irritable, angry at me for the smallest reasons, complains about everything. Everything is somehow my fault. All she does is hold the baby all day, even if he didn't need to be held, and scroll through her phone. Everything else is my responsibility. We haven't had fun time for over a year and a half, and whenever I try to address it, she lashes out at me because even though I'm the only who works, and I do all the housework, yet I'm insensitive and don't care about her. I haven't brought up fun time until 3 months postpartum. I was basically her emotional punching bag. I tried to get her to therapy. I tried to address her behavior, but all I get is more verbal abuse. I hated our marriage. I wanted to end it, but I was scared of the idea of co-parenting. I was scared of the social backlash of ending a marriage with a child involved. And also a small part of me was hoping that somehow things will get better. Well, last month she made it a lot easier to end it. She told me she was going to a bar with her friends. She came back home at 4 a.m. drunk. As soon as she slept, I snooped through her phone and found texts between her and a random guy, implying that she went to a hotel room with him. I was almost relieved when I saw them. I can finally walk away from this miserable marriage without any guilt or regret. The first thing I did was take a DNA test for the baby. He is mine. As soon as the results came back, I informed my wife that I'm aware of her infidelity and our marriage is over. She broke down crying. She begged for my forgiveness. She tried to use every excuse in the book: postpartum depression, past trauma, alcohol. She promised to make it up to me. She said she would do whatever I want, said that she doesn't want our family to break. But I wasn't having any of it. I have already hated this marriage and the infidelity was just the nail in the coffin. She spiraled further after I confronted her. She tried love bombing, making my favorite meals, acting affectionate, like flipping a switch. When that didn't work, she turned cruel, calling me heartless, accusing me of leaving our son. I stayed firm. She destroyed our marriage, and now she has to live with it. We still live together, and she has been begging me to reconsider, promising me everything under the sun, but I have no intention to reconsider, and I told her she is not allowed to speak to me anymore. So am I the a-hole for wanting to leave my wife after all of this?
Here are the top comments.
Your wife is an a-hole for cheating and for claiming her medical condition made her cheat.
Postpartum is addressed by therapy, not with adultery. I'd honestly start separation proceedings. Just make sure you kept screenshots of her texts.
I have a friend who in 1980 went through a similar situation. He proceeded with his divorce and split custody. Get a very good attorney. The next 20 years are going to be rough but survivable. My friend has a great relationship with his child and grandchildren. It took him 30 years before he married again. He simply wasn't rushing it. Best of all to you.
Am I the a-hole for letting my roommate cook with a contaminated lid? I live in a 3-person apartment, and around half a year ago, a new person moved in. We got along just fine at the beginning. Everything was cool. What she told me from the start was that she is Muslim and therefore has certain rules about the food she eats. I had no problem with that. We cooked separately anyway, so there wasn't an issue. Now, she's relatively strict about these rules. She uses her own set of pots and pans when she cooks, which I stay away from in case I accidentally do anything wrong. I don't really know how far that rule extends though, because we do use the same cutting boards, kitchen tools, or cutlery. One day, I walked into the kitchen and saw that she was using the lid from my Dutch oven for her frying pan. Now, I don't eat a lot of meat, but I do cook with wine relatively often. Like I said, it's never been an issue. We use different pots. She knows I cook with alcohol. So, when I saw her using that lid, I was confused for a moment. But then I thought back, we use the same utensils. She has probably seen me use this lid before. The size is perfect, so I use it for my frying pan quite often. I clearly have no idea how far her dietary rules go, so I just shrug it off. She knows what she's doing. A couple of weeks pass and she uses the lid again and again. It's a little bit annoying because I still do need it for myself, but that's just what living with roommates is, so I don't say anything. Then, one night, I'm lucky. When I go into the kitchen, the lid is on the drying rack. I can use it, so I do. I make myself some food, leave it simmering on the stove for a while. When I'm almost done, my roommate walks in on me, sees me cooking with my lid. The next day, she has bought herself a new lid for her pan and asks me not to use it because when I cook something with alcohol or pork, that means it's contaminated and she can't use it anymore. I asked why she used mine for so long then, since I had already been doing that since before she lived here. And now she's pissed at me, saying I should have told her right away and that I'm not respecting her religion. A few days later, she barely talks to me. The kitchen feels tense. I don't want to start another argument, so I avoid cooking when she's around. It's frustrating though. I don't feel like I did anything wrong. If she had asked earlier, I would have stopped her from using my lid. So am I the a-hole here?
Here are the top comments.
Ask her, you know that's my lid, right? And you know that I eat meat and alcohol. So why did anything have to be said? Why didn't you ask me? The nerve of her, not the a-hole.
Not the a-hole, but if it's that much of an issue for her, she needs to not only monitor these things herself, but clarify them for you. Why are utensils okay for both of you to use, but not a lid that doesn't even touch the food?
Does she expect you to follow her around all the time babysitting her to make sure she doesn't break her own rules? Literally just asking if she could use your cookware would have prevented the whole thing, so she's kind of an a-hole for that too.
I left our polyamorous marriage from my close friend, 30N and 33F. We were married for 5 years and together for 8. At some point in our marriage, my wife asked if I would be open to having a polyamorous relationship. I wanted to say no, but was afraid of being labeled as insecure and losing her. She had polyamorous relationships previously and had much more experience than me. She was my first and only partner. We had an extensive preparation period reading books, going to therapy and communicating. I thought I was ready, but apparently I wasn't. I wasn't even confident that I could find partners. She did it easily through dating apps and all I got was 0 matches. I communicated it to her, we took good photos and changed our profile according to her comments. In the end, I still got no dates though I was matched with few people. We had several boundaries in a relationship. Always use protection, always prioritize each other over other partners, no in our bed, no friends, and don't get into relationships with people we both know. I must give it to her that if I were a polyamorous person, she would be a great partner. She regularly checked in and communicated with me, but I couldn't do the same. I couldn't be honest. Over time, I started building resentment, which I kept to myself. At the time, I started talking about drinking with one of my female friends 30F. We didn't spend much time together back then. We shared some hobbies, but talked to each other maybe every other week. That drinking and discussion time we had together was the only thing that was supporting me. She was listening to me, validating my feelings and being a shoulder that I can lean on. We didn't have but it turned into a strong emotional connection, which we later confirmed as love. That kept on for a while until I realized I don't want to be together with my wife anymore. I had a discussion with my wife about ending the marriage. She was shocked because I didn't communicate previously about anything before and just dumped my feelings at once to her. She called for closing the marriage and going to a counselor to focus on ourselves. I rejected and in the end filed for divorce. She tried really hard to fix our relationship, but I didn't reciprocate any of her actions. I know I was unfair to my ex-wife. She would make a great partner for a polyamorous person, but I realized I am and monogamous. Once I connected with someone else, I completely lost connection with her. I cheated on her in the standard of polyamorous relationships. We are still together with my ex-close friend and going strong at it. I hope the future will bring good things for us.
Here are the top comments.
Never get the whole she will call me insecure thing. Yes, I am insecure about other guys. My wife. I don't share and will never share my partner with others. If you think that makes me insecure, then that's fine, but I don't care if you do.
Stop opening relationships in the middle of them. It never ends well. If you want an open relationship, it should have started that way.
I love my wife more than almost anything. All these years, and if she brought up polyamory, I'd get the divorce papers drawn up the next day.